there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Crysis 3 Super Soldier difficulty video walkthrough. This is Chapter 1, Post-Human, and I make a mistake here, guys. I should have played this on a different account. And I didn't realise at the time, because I did pick new game, and I assumed it would start my progress from a new game, but it doesn't. What will happen is, when you get to the areas where you unlock the upgrades, you'll be able to carry over the upgrades from a previous playthrough. So if you play on normal first to get the grips with the game, all the upgrades that you get and you upgrade will carry over to this playthrough. So you can feasibly come into this with the best upgrades necessary to have the easiest possible time. And I didn't realise that, so what I end up doing is I end up taking the upgrades off for quite some time and playing the game without them until feasibly I think I would have earned them. And the ones I would recommend that you use are the ones that accentuate the stealth. Because this game is a stealth game. It looks like an action game, it can be played like an action game, but if you play it like a stealth game, it is significantly easier and quicker, and you'll just be able to get to the end, get your achievements, you know, beat this difficulty so much swifter if you treat it as a stealth game. And it's a strange one, this, because it's a good game, it is. It's an interesting game, it's just so unbalanced. It's almost crazy how unbalanced it is. Like, if you played Super Soldier on Crysis 2, this game is going to feel like a complete joke in comparison, because it's easy. It's really, really easy, and I'm not saying this to try and offend anybody or to patronise anybody, but it is. Compared to the second game, this game is a cakewalk, and the thing that makes no sense as well is it's really short too. I beat this my first time through on Super Soldier, and it took me under 4 hours to do it. And you know, I've played Crysis 2 before, so I had an impression of how I was going to play this game, and I play it effectively the same way. But still, under 4 hours on a campaign? That is kind of crazy, especially on a hardest difficulty where it's supposed to be tougher. Like, there were levels on this game where I didn't die, and things like that, which is something that never happens on a hardest difficulty. You're always going to die so that you can learn how to play. But this is completely different. But the habits you want to get into that will make the playthrough more comfortable is whenever you enter a new area, if you press up on the D-pad, you will enter your Visor mode. And your Visor mode is so powerful and so useful, it's genius. And if you highlight the enemies, you'll tag them, and you'll get those inverted triangles above their head. And those triangles are going to show through walls on your heads-up display. They're going to tell you everything you need to know about the enemies around you. You can track their movements through walls. You can see whether or not they're alerted. It's extremely useful. It's going to give you a visual representation of where everybody is so that you can plan your path and you can get through without being seen or without having any hassle. You'll notice I move crouched while I'm stealth, because at this moment in time I do not have the ability where I can walk silently yet. The first upgrade you want to get is the ability to walk silently, so you can walk in cloak and mitigate the time needed to travel anywhere. But a couple of things to bear in mind. The energy bar at the bottom right, it depletes faster the faster you move, so sometimes crouching is a much more intelligent way of progressing than walking is. You know, other times running is the best option. It's all about understanding how much energy each movement takes and how much energy you have to moderate to travel distance. Once you get a decent understanding of what you can and can't do, what your limitations are, this game essentially becomes kind of like a racing game. You're picking the optimum path through the level to get where you need to be as quick as you can, so that you don't come out of cloak and you don't get spotted. And it becomes the situation of, I now have to cross the next 100 yards and find a place where I can sit behind a piece of cover so that no one can see me, so I can get my energy back. And that is Crysis 3 the game. You can choose to kill people, you can choose to be much more aggressive, but I am literally going to employ as little kills as I physically can. I'm going to try and get around people, because it's just so much more simple. The strangest thing about this game, for me, is aside from the hacking, I did not expect to do any of this, which is an interesting addition. It can make for some fun situations, but is the bow. This bow is really cool. We're in the year of the bow, where every game that comes out has a bow for some reason, and you know, we're embracing this lineage of bows, and it's cool because I like bows. But this game gives you the bow on the first level, and it is the most overpowered weapon in the game. It is the best gun in the game. It's silent, you can fire it while you're in stealth, and it's a one-hit kill on almost every single enemy you shoot with it. And there's a part of me that thinks, that's fantastic, that's exactly how a bow should be, you know. It's this risk-reward of you fire your arrow, you've got to pick it back up, which you do in this game, which is cool. But it's too good. It's far too good. It's amazingly good, and it almost breaks the flow of the combat because it's that good. But I should really speak up here, because my first time through this area, I jumped on that pipe to my right that I just ran past, and I walked up the pipe directly to the other side of this arena in cloak, using the girders to get my energy back, and it was easy. I got through this room without seeing a single enemy except for the two at the end, and I didn't even bat an eyelid. It was easy, simple, you know, fantastic strategy to get around this entire encounter. On my recording run, I kept falling off the pipe, and I don't know why. Like, this became the hardest part of the game because I was being stubborn. And it was all because I was holding forward on the analog, I was crouched on the middle of the pipe, everything was perfect, there was no way it could deviate at all, and he fell off. And he fell off about 10 to 15 times, in varying degrees of distance down this pipe. And I don't know why. So, for anybody who's thinking, oh, why didn't you go up the pipe, it's such an easier route, I completely agree with you, but on my recording run, that pipe was kryptonite, and I cannot say why. It was so dumb. So if you're having trouble staying on that pipe, I know exactly what you're on about, because it happened to me. It was random, it made no sense, but it was the ultimate progress cock block. So this is kind of risky here. I'm getting low on energy, I hug this piece of cover, these two soldiers don't recognise me, and I get my energy back, and I can continue onwards. And when you are walking in stealth, or when you're doing anything in this game and you wonder how visible you are, if anybody can see you, if anybody's near you, if you look next to your map, there is a section that says threat, which shows the profile of your character when you're crouched and stood, and it also shows a bar of how much you are visible to the enemy, how much of a threat you are perceived to be. And if it stays yellow, and underneath yellow you're fine, that's nervous, that's, you know, conscious of something in the area but not sure what. Red is bad. Red is when somebody sees you. But as soon as you re-enter cloak, if you break line of sight, it will go back to yellow. And this game is literally going to be about keeping it at yellow, breaking line of sights, and getting to that waypoint. You're just going to be hunting that waypoint in the easiest and simplest path possible. And hopefully, excuse me, my throat just decided to die on me just then. I'm hoping, if you're using this guide, which I don't perceive many people will, because this game, like I've said, is very simple for anybody who's played a Crysis before, for anybody who's good at stealth games. You know, play this like a stealth game. This is a significantly easy journey compared to perhaps shooting. But if you are using this, I hope these paths that I'm going to be showing and these ways through the levels are going to be the easiest, you know, minimalist approach to getting shit done. And you know, they're mine. They're the ones that I found, the ones that I used, and hopefully they'll correlate with other people. But Crysis 3, I was really excited for this game, and as much as I enjoyed it, I was disappointed. You know, campaign is far too short. It's got some wonderful levels, but there's only 7 of them, which is insane. The storyline never really goes anywhere. It obsesses over this concept of this Alpha Ceph, and then the Alpha Ceph just turns out to be one of the bloody ciphers from the Matrix that cut up the ship with a laser face. It just really uninspiring. Like there's some nice character moments between the guy who's with you and the lady, and there's a couple of epiphanies. They bring the guy back from the second one who helped you with your suit, and then they do this really cliched kind of twist with him. You know, I don't know. This game is a rental at best. If you're into the multiplayer, you'll probably want to buy it, because I reckon it'll be cheap by now. But if you're purely a single-player gamer, this is not going to be a healthy enough dose of gameplay for you to warrant paying full price. And it hurts me to say that, because there's nothing wrong with this game. It is a fun game while it lasts. It's a functional game. It's a pretty game. It probably looks amazing on PC. And it does have a very cool vibe to it, because with the ability to cloak and this ability to use your bow, the design philosophy on this game was about being a predator. And it shows. It really does. Because you go into these arenas and you systematically can kill everybody in this room without anybody knowing you've done it. And maybe that's a little bit, hyperbole there. But you can at least hunt them all without them ever knowing you were there. And they get nervous, and it's kind of like Batman. On Arkham Asylum, when you enter those rooms and it's a room where you've got to kill everybody and there's gargoyles on the walls and there's all that kind of stuff, you feel like a hunter. You feel like a warrior taking out, dividing and conquering, felling the herd, culling the weak. That's what you feel like on this game. It's really empowering because the bow is so good, the cloak is very powerful, and you feel like a monster, you feel like a destroyer. And on that front, I think this game is very successful. But for everything else, where gameplay, challenge, and requirements on the player, it's really low. Second Crysis was a tough game. I thought it was tough, and even that was not too bad. The first Crysis I have, because a subscriber actually gave it me, which is awesome, and I'm going to shout them out when I do some footage for it. And I haven't played it yet, but I can't wait to play it. I hear the first Crysis is really hard, because it's much more sandboxy, and sandboxes are generally can be very difficult games if the difficulty spikes. Because the one thing you notice with sandbox games is the difficulty is never really that insane, because they can't control the amount of craziness that happens. Oh, by the way, you do not have to hack this turret. I was doing it because on my first playthrough I couldn't do it. I wasn't used to how the hacking worked, and I wasn't aware of the pattern of the movement. But once you play the game, you will be significantly more comfortable with it, and you'll understand it completely. Something else to bear in mind too, this walkthrough is going to trim out all the unnecessary moments where you stood around waiting, listening to exposition. The moments where there's no combat, where it's essentially storyline and narrative, I'll be removing all of those because they're unnecessary. All this is going to be is the gameplay, the sections you have to play and you have to beat, and pretty much nothing else. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoy the guide, and you take care now.